I don't think I can trust the banks anymore. I mean, I think I will just withdraw money and just stash it under the bed like what people used to do in the old days.
Imagine waking up one morning, checking your phone, and realizing that everything you had worked for, every late night, every skipped vacation, every dollar you scraped together and tucked away, was just gone. Not stolen at gunpoint, not lost in a market crash, gone because someone sent you a text message. That is exactly what happened to Sunny, a young woman living in Sydney, Australia, who in 2023 lost her entire life savings of $50,000 in under 30 minutes. Without ever clicking a suspicious link, without ever visiting a fake website, and without ever doing anything that most people would consider reckless. She was careful, she was aware, she knew about phishing emails, she knew not to click random attachments, and she still got cleaned out completely.
Click on links and emails or attachments and things like that. I'm usually on guard, but because I think the text message came from the HSBC number, I let my guard down.
What makes her story so deeply unsettling isn't just the amount of money that was taken. It's how perfectly the scam was constructed to fool even someone who thought they were paying attention. Because the terrifying truth is that the methods being used by these fraudsters have evolved so far beyond what most people expect that the old rules of online safety simply don't apply anymore. And if you think your caution is enough to protect you, this story is going to make you reconsider everything. The text message that landed on Sunny's phone looked completely routine, and that is what made it so dangerous. Over the course of roughly a year, she had received multiple legitimate messages from HSBC, all of which had stacked neatly into a single conversation thread on her phone, the way messages from the same number always do. When this new message arrived, it appeared in that exact same thread, sitting right beneath all the real ones. It read, "You have signed in from another mobile. If this was not you, call us." Simple, alarming, and designed to trigger an immediate response. But here's where the story takes a genuinely chilling turn. The device flagged in that message was a Samsung S8, which happened to be a phone that Sunny had actually lost years earlier.
The Samsung S8 phone. And then I coincidentally did lose an S8 phone a few years ago.
Whether the scammer knew that specific detail and used it deliberately, or whether it was a coincidence that worked perfectly in his favor, we may never know. What we do know is that the technique used to place that message inside her legitimate HSBC thread is called phone number spoofing, a method that allows criminals to disguise their outgoing messages or calls to appear as though they are coming from a trusted, verified source. No warning signs, no strange formatting, no red flags. Just a message that looked, in every possible way, like it belonged there.
That came from HSBC number. I didn't really think, and I just clicked on that number.
Sunny did what almost anyone would do in that situation. She called the number, and the man who picked up was good. Not good in the way that career criminals in movies are good, loud, and threatening and obvious. He was good in the way that made everything feel completely normal. He spoke with the calm, measured professionalism of someone who handles account security inquiries every single day, because that is exactly the role he was playing. His first move was to ask Sunny for the reference number included in the text message. On the surface, this sounds like standard procedure, a bank representative asking you to confirm details from a security alert. But the scammer didn't actually need that number for any technical reason. What he needed was to establish credibility, to signal to Sunny that this was a structured, legitimate process unfolding exactly the way it should. After that, he walked her through identity verification, full name, home address, date of birth. All of it matched the protocols that HSBC and virtually every other major bank follow when confirming a customer's identity. Sunny had done this before. It felt familiar. It felt safe. There was no moment where something sounded off or where her instincts fired a warning. From where she was standing, she was doing the right thing, cooperating with her bank to resolve a potential breach of her account before any real damage could be done. She had no idea that the damage was already being planned. Then came the request that would cost Sunny everything. The man on the phone asked her to open her HSBC banking app and generate a one-time passcode, telling her it was needed for security verification purposes.
Then I received a text message saying a device has been removed from my account, which is from the HSBC number again.
And on the surface, again, this sounds like something you might actually be asked to do. Banks do use one-time passcodes. They are a real security feature. So the request didn't feel out of place, especially in the context of a call that had already followed legitimate procedure at every step. But here's what was actually happening behind the scenes. And this is the part that every single person needs to understand. A one-time passcode, or OTP, exists specifically to protect your account from unauthorized access. Even if someone has your username and your password, the OTP acts as a final locked door, and only you, with your phone in your hand, can open it.
Through the verification process to ensure that it is me, as all HSBC or any bank representatives do.
The scammer on that call already had Sunny's login credentials. How he obtained them, whether through a prior data breach, activity on the dark web, or some connection to that lost Samsung phone, isn't entirely clear. But what is clear is that her username and password alone weren't enough. He needed her to hand him the key to that final door herself. And she did. She read him the code. Within seconds, he was inside her account, and the clock started ticking on everything she had ever saved. What followed was the part of the story that feels almost surreal when you hear it. Because for a few minutes, Sunny had absolutely no idea anything was wrong. The scammer put her on hold, telling her there had been some unusual activity and that he needed a moment to look into it. She waited, patiently. The way you do when you're on a call with your bank and they're working on your behalf. Meanwhile, on the other end of that phone line, the man was moving fast. Using the one-time passcode she had just handed him, he had logged into her HSBC account and was in the process of transferring her entire balance, $49,900, to an account that would almost certainly never be traced. Then, while she was still on hold, something that felt like relief arrived on her phone. A text message from the real HSBC number. It said that a device had been removed from her account. Sunny exhaled. It seemed like the issue had been resolved. That the mysterious Samsung S8 had been successfully disconnected and her account was secure again. But that confirmation wasn't what she thought it was. The device that had just been removed from her account wasn't the old lost phone. It was her own. The scammer had logged her out from the inside, giving himself uninterrupted access to finish what he had started. The money was already gone before she even realized she should be worried. When the scammer came back on the line after that long hold, he made a move that would ultimately be his first and only mistake. He told Sunny that her cryptocurrency account had also been compromised, and that he needed her CoinSpot login details so that he could alert the exchange on her behalf and prevent further losses. For just a moment, consider what he was actually asking. CoinSpot is a completely separate platform, an independent crypto exchange with no affiliation whatsoever to HSBC. There is no world in which an HSBC representative would have visibility into a customer's third-party crypto holdings, and there is certainly no protocol under which a bank would ask for login credentials to an entirely different financial platform. That request didn't just bend the rules of standard banking procedure, it shattered them. And something in Sunny's mind finally clicked. She later said that in that moment it hit her. Why would HSBC be concerned about her CoinSpot account? And why would they ever ask her to hand over credentials rather than directing her to call the exchange directly? She hung up without giving him a single piece of information. Then she called HSBC immediately using the real number from their official website, not the number from the text, and demanded that her account be frozen right away. The representative on the other end of that call confirmed what she was already beginning to fear. It was already too late. To understand how a scam this sophisticated actually works from the ground up, you have to start at the very beginning, because the architecture of this fraud was built long before Sunny ever received that first text. The scammer almost certainly had her personal information well in advance. Her full name, her phone number, her home address, possibly her date of birth, and most critically, her HSBC account login credentials. This kind of data doesn't appear out of thin air. It gets harvested from large-scale data breaches, purchased on dark web marketplaces, or pieced together from multiple leaks over time. Armed with all of that, the scammer needed only one more thing to actually get into her account: the OTP. So he spoofed HSBC's number, sent a text that landed in her legitimate thread, ran a flawless impersonation call, and extracted the passcode directly from her. 2 mistakes made the whole thing possible. The first was calling the number provided in the text message. Real banks do send security alerts by text, but they do not include callback numbers in those messages, precisely because of scams like this one. The second was sharing the one-time passcode. No legitimate bank representative will ever ask you to read an OTP back to them over the phone, under any circumstances, for any reason. If those 2 facts were common knowledge, scams like this one would collapse entirely. But they're not. And criminals know that better than anyone. After the call ended and the reality of what had happened set in, Sunny was left with $49,900 less than she had woken up with that morning, and the institution that was supposed to protect her money was not interested in taking any responsibility for what had occurred. HSBC's official position was straightforward and brutal. Sunny had voluntarily provided the one-time passcode to a third party, and therefore the loss was her fault. No compensation, no investigation that led anywhere useful. Just a polite reminder that she had broken the terms by sharing secure account information. As though the entire structure of the scam, which was designed specifically to make that action feel not just safe but necessary, was irrelevant. This is not unique to HSBC. It is the industry-wide default when bank fraud of this type occurs, and it is a policy that leaves victims with almost no recourse. But Sunny refused to disappear quietly. She began connecting with other victims of similar scams and eventually formed an HSBC scam victim support group that grew to include at least 70 people. By 2024, that group was actively pushing for collective compensation from the bank, using their shared experiences to build a case that this wasn't a series of individual mistakes. It was a systemic failure. Whether they succeeded is still unclear. But what Sunny built out of one of the worst days of her life is a warning system for everyone who comes after her. Because the next text message that looks completely legitimate might already be sitting in your thread right now.